All right, time for your latest update on the government shutdown. You know what? I'm going to toss it over to one of the best connected and researched congressional correspondents on Capitol Hill. He's one of their producers and reporters, Chad Pegram. Here, he's going to give you a Pegram, excuse me, Chad. He's going to give you a quick rundown on where things stand.
This is a staring contest of the highest order. Neither side is willing to budge to reopen the government. Democrats insist the only way to unlock the shutdown is to have bipartisan talks about health care with the president.
Donald Trump, instead of leaving the country or before he leaves the country, should sit down and negotiate with us so we can address this horrible crisis. He should not be going away before he negotiates. The American people are in crisis.
Democrats are sticking to their demand for money to defray the cost of Obamacare. Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries say the president was interested in the issue when they met in September. But President Trump is unwilling to talk right now.
I would love to meet. I would like to meet with both of them, but I set one little caveat. I will only meet if they let the country open. They have to let the country open. The people want to go back to work, so I'll do it as soon as they open up the country. I'd like to meet.
All right. So first of all, President Trump staying on message, consistent throughout this entire process. Last time he met with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries was the day they went outside the West Wing, gave the little press gaggle, and that's when Hakeem Jeffries decided to put on that sombrero and wear the Cheeto Bandito mustache. That was so funny. God, that guy is hilarious. Anyway, that was it. That was the last time there was any meeting. See, Schumer there, I love Schumer. The American people are suffering. They're hurting. The president needs that. They're hurting because you hurt them, pal. They're suffering because you've inflicted suffering on them. This is all his doing. And what he wants is he wants to go back to the good old days, as we keep telling you. He wants a backroom deal. And he really wants to have another photo op. You remember in the last government shutdown, when President, and I mean the government shutdown during the Trump administration 1.0 in 2019. And there was a scene in the Oval Office with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, President Trump, Vice President Pence was there. Remember him? That's a good old thing. Anyway, there they are sitting in the Oval Office. And as usual, you know, this is before Trump sort of refined this whole process of having the media come in and watch. And, you know, Trump was shooting from the hip and shooting from the lip. And Schumer and Pelosi believe they got the better of those photo ops. They believe that they actually advanced the political ball because they were the sage, wise old DC professionals, and Trump didn't know what the hell he was doing, and now we've got chaos. That's what Schumer wants. Schumer continues to fight last year's war, yesterday's battle. He doesn't understand what time it is. President Trump knows what time it is. That's why he is not engaged in any of this stuff. Have you noticed that he hasn't given a daily press conference about the government shutdown? Sure, he answered a question there, but every single one of his daily events in front of the media, in front of cameras, it has to do with international affairs. It has to do with big picture stuff. It has to do with the stuff that the executive branch is dealing with that the legislative branch doesn't even touch. Things like the military, things like, you know, settling the peace process in the Middle East and in Europe. All this stuff that makes him elevated to the level of statesman and head of state. And meanwhile, who's giving the daily press conferences on the government shutdown? Who has President Trump deferred to allow this legislative battle to go forward? He has deferred to this guy, Speaker Mike Johnson, because he is the head of the legislative branch in the House of Representatives. He's given the daily press conference. Trump this time around has more faith in his Speaker of the House, in Mike Johnson. Who was his Speaker of the House last time around? Yeah, that's right. Paul Ryan. And we've learned subsequently that he was sort of operating behind Donald Trump's back and with ulterior motives to Donald Trump's agenda. We know that. He's shown his true colors. He trusts this guy. This guy has handled everything for him. Every single day at the 10 a.m. press briefing, we've shown you the highlights. And if you watch this program, you've seen over the last week now, we have shown you Speaker Johnson getting more aggressive, more aggressive, more aggressive. Check him out today.
and we passed a clean, nonpartisan CR to keep the government open for the people. Now look on the other side of that figurative split screen as demonstrated here. The lights are out. It's all dark. Why? Because what the Democrats have accomplished in 9.5 months is a government shutdown. A couple other things sort of related to that. You know, they have made a lot of TikTok videos. We'll give them credit for that. They've also assaulted law enforcement officers. One of them's on trial for that. They've openly embraced and rallied with communists and socialists, most recently across the country on Saturday. They voted to raise taxes on millions of hardworking Americans at the worst possible time. They have voted against reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, and they have now voted, collectively, Democrats in Congress have voted 12 times to keep the government closed down. But it doesn't stop there. The Democrat shutdown is a glaring example of just how far the Democratic Party has strayed from common sense. Remember the simple truth here. It was over a month ago now that we passed, the Republicans passed the clean, short-term continuing resolution. It's nonpartisan. No gimmicks, no tricks, no riders, no partisan Republican policy priorities added to that. It's 24 pages in length, as we've discussed so many times, and it is very, very simple. Why? Because it was a very simple good faith effort on our part to preserve our ability to keep negotiating on the full year funding bills. And of course, the other big issues facing the American people.
All right. Now, again, on message, but do you notice he's getting more aggressive? Yesterday, he named names and associated senators, Democrats, who are voting against funding the government and then linked it to programs that are about to shut down or are unfunded in those senators' states. If you missed yesterday's show, check it out. It was great. Now, today, he's got a litany. What have they accomplished? Well, they did, march with communists. And one of the members is now, standing trial for assaulting federal officers. They got that going for him. And he's listing out all of these things to show you exactly what they've accomplished with their shutdown. Also, to the point I just made about how President Trump is staying on message and focusing and saying, you're right. I completely agree. Obamacare is completely f***ed up, and I want to help you fix it. All you got to do is vote to fund the government, and then we can have that conversation. Trump has been saying that since day one, and he is being disciplined and staying on it. And what did I just say? He's showing himself to be a statesman, solving problems around the world, which makes the Democrats in D.C. look more obstinate than radical Islamic terrorists, literally. The jihadists will sit with Trump and work things out. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries won't. And so the visual here that you're looking at right now with Johnson continuing to shore up this fight on behalf of the government and the country, look at the lower right corner. What do you see? Later today, Trump meeting with the head of NATO. Statesman, right? Also, by the way, in this press conference, Mike Johnson continues to use the language that he should be using about what the Democrats are doing to you, to your government services, to your military, to your air traffic controllers, to all of the people who are either out of work or furloughed or deferred pay.
So Republicans cannot and will not solve it in a backroom deal. Chuck Schumer has been suggesting that 4 leaders should go into a smoke-filled back room like they used to do in the old days and create this solution. It's not a possible thing to do. It was never appropriate. It's not possible to put on a continuing resolution because it's such a complex issue. Issues of this magnitude deserve deep thought and deliberation. That's how this system works here. And as soon as Chuck Schumer reopens the government, all of our members will have an opportunity to engage in the very important discussion of how to make Obamacare affordable. But we won't engage in Democrats' hostage taking, nor will we pay a ransom.
Good for him. Hostage taking, no ransom. Stop. But Obamacare. Okay, fine. We agree. Now take the gun away from our heads, fund the government so everything operate normally. Stop with your histrionics. Stop with your made-for-TV, survivor reality show, drama queen bullshit. And then we can talk. It's exactly what Johnson should be doing. And I've been telling you for over a week now, these daily 10 a.m. press conferences are very effective, and they're getting picked up by the media, and his facts are unassailable. Schumer's getting hammered in these press conferences. So Schumer decided it was time for him to come out and show that he can engage in these issues too. Okay, Chuck, how did it go?
Next one.
Leader Schumer, leadership is offering to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act with you if you reopen the government. Why won't you take the deal?
The bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry. And they've asked us for 45 days and 45 days and 45 days. When they say another 45 days, later to them means never. We have to get them to the table and negotiate with us now.
Okay, so a couple things. I don't know if you heard the question, but again, this is why it's so important that Republicans have stayed on message. Because the question was, hey, Republicans say that they'll talk to you about the Affordable Care Act and you'll get a vote and we'll figure something out. All you got to do is fund the government. Why isn't that deal worth taking? Why don't you just take that deal? I mean, that's the thing. Even when the mainstream media, the corporate legacy media is asking that question, it's a very simple message. And it's a question that, well, they have no defense. They have no answer to it, except for this, which is, I'm Chuck Schumer, and I'm going to do what I want to do, and I want to get behind closed doors and work out some backroom deal so it looks like I accomplished something.
Bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry.
Does he look like a man who's in control of this situation? Does he look like the alpha in this debate? Does he look like the person who's actually on the winning side of the argument? Is he acting and speaking like he's the winner in this entire episode? Or does he look like the angry, desperate despot that he obviously is? Hold that thought before you answer the question, because let's check on his counterpart, who's also trying to do some media over in the House, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
But we will not be intimidated. We will continue to show up and stand up and speak up for the American people, to improve their quality of life, to address the extremism that is being unleashed on everyday Americans by this administration all across the country. We will not bend.
Hold on. I'll let you finish, Hakeem. He really should grow that mustache. It's just a better look for him. I thought that the government shutdown that they have initiated is all about making sure that people's health insurance bills aren't too high. Of course, they will be high. The only difference is that instead of paying all of their money to the insurance companies who benefit from the Democrats breaking the health insurance industry 15 years ago with Obamacare, instead of paying all that money out of your pocket to the health insurance companies, instead, you're going to pay a portion of it in your premiums, and then the rest of it will come out of your astronomically high taxes, or will increase our national debt by taking tax dollars that our government doesn't have and giving it to those insurance companies on your behalf. That's the choice. Again, I just want to make sure you recognize that the government, if the Democrats have their way, are doing nothing to reduce the cost of health care or health insurance. The cost is going to stay the same. The difference is the American people who are utilizing the subsidies right now to pay for their health insurance, they're going to get a break because the government will be spending their money through taxes and their grandchildren's money through printing money that we don't have and adding to our national debt and giving it to the insurance companies. Costs are still there. It's still a broken system. The difference is the Democrats are going to make it seem like you're not paying so much, but instead they're going to keep taking your money through taxes and giving it to insurance companies. It's quite a scheme. But I thought that's what this was about, right? Their message has been that. Oh, yeah, we got to shut down the government because we got to fix healthcare. And the Republicans need to come to the table, and they won't unless we shut down the government. But now, what is this from Hakeem Jeffries? I'm sorry, what are you trying to do here?
Of life, to address the extremism that is being unleashed on everyday Americans.
Oh, so we've shut down the government to address the extremism unleashed on everyday Americans? And by the way, what is that extremism? Oh, you mean ICE agents enforcing the laws of our land? That's the extremism. Well, I guess to a Democrat who wants open borders and rampant illegal immigration and criminals to walk free, I suppose that is extreme. You extremist, how dare you? How dare you enforce the laws that we passed? That's extreme. Yeah, I guess, from his perspective. Okay, so there's a new message. See how Republicans stay on message. Republicans have done the same thing. We got a clean bill. We want to fund the government. Then we can get to business. It's that simple. Stop being a child. Democrats are all over the frickin' place. Schumer's like, we got to fix Obamacare. And then they cut over to Hakeem Jeffries. We're standing up to the extremism. Okay, you know what? Pick a lane, dudes. But I ask you, well, let me let him finish.
By this administration all across the country. We will not bend. We will not break. We will never bow down. And when it comes to these extremists out there, you better watch how you talk when you talk about me.
I ask this in all sincerity. What the was that? What the is he talking about? What? Look at his face. Was I'm sorry, is he bringing the thug life to the Capitol? Dude, you don't do this very well at all. What is he talking about? Did you catch that?
There. You better watch how you talk when you talk about me.
Or else what? What are you going to do? It's so hilarious. Think this through for a minute. Dude, you're an elected official. You're a public servant. You decided that you want the trappings of office. You want the power that comes along with being an elevated member of the House of Representatives. Really impressive. One of 435. Good for you. He wanted this life. He wanted to be able to have control over people's lives. He wanted to be able to strut around Brooklyn or Washington, D.C. saying, yeah, I represent my district. And now I'm the minority leader, so I represent all the Democrats in America, right? It is, okay, that's fine, but you're in America. And in our constitutional republic that uses the democratic process to choose our representatives like you, Hakeem, there's something that we were born with. We have a right to do something here. And that's talk to you however the hell we want. You don't like the way we're talking to you or talking about you, and now you're threatening us? And we're the authoritarians? Trump's the authoritarian? Hegseth and Vance are the authoritarians? Have you ever heard Trump? I mean, who has gotten criticized and slimed and libeled and defamed and threatened and attempted assassinated like Donald Trump has over the course of the last 10 years? And have you ever seen Donald Trump look the American people in the eye through a camera lens and say, you better watch how you're talking about me? Ever? Ever? And he's the authoritarian. He's the thug. He's the fascist. Is there anything more authoritarian than this attitude from this pipsqueak?
We will never bow down. And when it comes to these extremists out there, you better watch how you talk when you talk about me.
Or else what? What an absolute pansy. Chip Roy, congressman from Texas, has been analyzing this problem. 22 days now we're into this government shutdown. And you know the math. You know how it works. Republicans have the majority in the House. All you need is a bare majority. Just, 50-50 plus one gets you the win there, right? Executive branch, obviously, the president signs whatever bill he wants to sign or vetoes whatever he wants. In the Senate, even though the Republicans have the majority, you got to get to 60 votes. It's the filibuster. The filibuster can stop progress on most things in the Senate unless there are 60 votes. And that's where the Democrats have been stubborn, obstinate, stamping their feet, standing with their arms crossed like a baby having a tantrum. Chip Roy has looked at this and said, you know what, maybe it's time we do away with this stupid filibuster thing anyway.
Majority vote to do that anyway. And by the way, this whole notion, look, I was a creature of the Senate as a staffer, but we need to be taking a look at the 60 vote threshold. We really do. At a minimum, why don't we take a look at it for CRs, right? Why don't we just say, look, we have a 50 vote threshold for the budget. We have a 50 vote threshold for reconciliation. Why shouldn't we have a 50 vote threshold to be able to fund the government if the majority of the people want to do that? And look, I like being able to block bad things with 60 votes, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's a one-way ratchet because but for basically Sinema and Manchin, they would have blown up the 60 vote threshold to advance their agenda. I think Republicans ought to take a long, hard look at the 60 vote threshold because I think we're just being beholden to a broken system right now.
Congressman, all right, so just so you have a little bit of history, there used to be a situation where Supreme Court justices and federal judges were held up by that 60 vote threshold. Harry Reid blew that up. They call it the nuclear option. He did away with it because Republicans have been stopping certain federal judges from being put forth, and Harry Reid blew it up, said, fine, no more filibuster. And it actually ended up being a brilliant little jujitsu move by Republicans, because they said, okay, if you want to do that, Harry, go ahead. But soon you're going to have a Republican president with a majority Republican in the Senate, and we're going to pass through whatever judges we want. You're going to have nothing to say about it. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. And so now Chip Roy and Republicans are flirting with the idea of doing the same. And I just got to say, let's learn a lesson from history. That 60 vote thing, as obnoxious as it may be, it actually has worked in our favor in the past. And we don't want to be Harry Reid regretting that every single day of our lives. John Fetterman, for his part, he thinks it's a good idea. And as reasonable as Fetterman seems, he's still a Democrat.
Your Republican colleagues have proposed nuking the filibuster to force the government to reopen. What do you?
Yeah, of course. Carve it out for that, absolutely. We ran on that. We ran on killing the filibuster, and now we love it. You know, it's like carve it out so we can move on.
Now, it is great that he points out the hypocrisy of the Democrats. It's true. When they ran and said, hey, give us the majority in the Senate, we'll nuke the filibuster and we'll push through whatever Biden wants done. Now, they didn't get it, but because of Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, they stopped it from happening. But it is pretty hypocritical for the Democrats to now use that thing that they were going to nuke and get rid of and love it so much. So, I mean, listen, he's right about the hypocrisy for the Democrats, but no, I don't think it's time to get rid of the filibuster. That will bite us in the butt. Real fast, I've shown you Hakeem Jeffries. I've shown you Chuck Schumer. I've shown you the people who speak on behalf of the Democrats. How about this person? This is the whip for the Democrats, Catherine Clark. She's in the House. She's in charge of trying to make sure that Democrats all vote in unison. That's what the whips do. And she sat with Chad Pergram of Fox, and take a listen to this. Unbelievable.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have. I mean, shutdown.
There you go. I think we showed this to you last week when she gave this interview, but that's the bottom line. Shutdowns are terrible. People are going to suffer. It's a terrible thing. But hey, without all that suffering, without all that pain, we don't have any leverage. Sorry, American people, but you know, girls got to do what a girl's got to do. They're losing on their messaging right now across the board. You just saw it, and I just showed it to you. The clock is ticking. It's only a question of time, and that time for the Democrats is running out.